Timothy Leary also went into India because that was his job too, apart from dishing out LSD and telling you that alter states were wonderful, as he took his paycheck from the CIA to promote this culture. When he came back from India, he called the Beatles, who'd also just come back, the four evangelists, because they were sent out to spread the gospel, you see, of this new religion. And that was in different newspapers and magazines at the time. In fact, Leary said that the Beatles had taken his place, and that the Rolling and that one of their albums was a complete celebration of LSD, which was true. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and so on, was pushing, promoting altered states, which they coupled again with the so-called transcendental meditation states for the new religion they were bringing in. And magazines all over the place sprouted into being, heavily funded, all promoting this brand new culture that everyone fell into. And before you know it, there was almost like chain stores of channeling groups and meditation groups, etc., as they destroyed the old. And along with that came what even various professors in universities noticed too, that the free love that was introduced along with it. Now, this had been tried previously in Germany in the 1920s, this what we now call the hippie era, and free love, and with the Wonder folk and so on. So they reintroduced it again with the drugs for the 1960s and really promoted it big time, heavily financed it for the Western world. And it worked wonders because it destroyed all the old values and brought in these already made new set of values. And I mean already made because it was a plan. It wasn't something that was a happening, as they called it. It was actually a plan that was being unfolded and directed by all of the media circus. And the public went along with it because everything they gave you was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. It was fascinating to be told you could do this, you could do that, you could get in touch with entities, you could wake up your chakras and rattle them and get your kundalini going, etc., etc. And it all appeals to the ego because it all appeals to the ability to gain a supernatural power. And if you go into it deep enough and follow all the chains that you would go through from one cult to the next cult to the next cult, although they simply call them groups now and associations, they're still cults, that you always end up with channeling. It's quite amazing that everything today goes towards channeling. They used to call it mediumship in the 1800s when the Royal Society of Psychical Research was headed by Conan Doyle. And they used to bring mediums, and Albert Pike had his own personal medium who would channel stuff to him. Myself, I only had one channel, that was the BBC, so I didn't get very much at all. But nowadays, we've got so many channels and so many entities, and everyone tells you to get in touch with your power animal or the figure that will appear in front of you, but you must ask its name. Strangely, why they have the legalities in this.
So do you think that techniques such as meditation and yoga are actually a form of hypnosis?
Oh, they are hypnosis. In fact, the Western world for a while taught the self-hypnosis to attain the same kind of experiences, the feelings really, or calmness that some experience through yoga.
Okay.
Hold on, and then we'll go into it after this break. Blavatsky talked about the creation or the bringing together of the religion of India with Christianity to create a new world system, a new religion. And this has been pushed by the big boys who run the world, and Maurice Strong, who works for Rockefeller, and the United Nations, too, that pushes the Baha'i and all the rest of it. This was set up a long time ago in the 1880s to bring it to fruition for today. And when you see such a majority of Western women running off to yoga classes, thinking it's all about exercises, and they haven't a clue of the origins of yoga and what its real intent is, until they go up to higher meditation. And what you're really doing is channeling. You're channeling entities. The whole idea of yoga was to bypass reincarnation so you won't have to come back again, but you take on the forms of all these different gods, which some other religions, including their own, will call demons too. That's quite something. You're into a religion big time. And when they start selling you philosophies on how to think and how to think about different things, a whole format of religion, well, you're in trouble if you don't realize you're in a religion. You're being indoctrinated, and someone else is pulling your strings. This is a part of the global agenda. Now, Khrushchev, back in the 60s, he set up a special team in the KGB, and their job was to go around the Western world monitoring to see if all of these gurus that were sent over from India and the New Age religion was taking off, and how it was affecting the culture and society, because it was known at the time that they'd eventually blend with the Western world into this New World Order, and they needed a New World religion to guide us all into it. And with it all comes, again, eugenics and too many people and saving Mother Earth, forced sterilization, all that kind of stuff. That's what comes into all this eventually. All these roads lead to the same road. They all join together. And it's a road to hell, to be honest with you, utter hell on earth, as this agenda steamrolls forward. But you must have a pretty well stupefied population to control and take along that road, and you do it by the creation of this particular New Age religion, which is coupled with no rights or wrongs. It's moral relativism. Therefore, there's no right or wrong. Right and wrong is only a human judgment. Good and bad is just a human judgment on events. They always say that something benefits from every act, even the bad acts. Therefore, nothing is technically ever wrong. They can start killing you off, and it won't be wrong either. And you won't even care about it, because after all, it's moral relativity. That's how your mind is controlled, you see. And even types of psychotherapy now use this particular channeling method, or meeting your power animal to give you power. And even these dynamic group encounter meetings they have, even for people who work in corporations, they send them off to these courses to give them more confidence, supposedly. They also get them in eventually to meeting their power animal and channeling and all this kind of stuff. It's always the same road they have to go down, which is odd, because what you're seeing is the creation of a new religion, which is an old religion, and used to be called pantheism. Well understood, well documented, and kept in archives and even in regular libraries if you care to go into the old dusty books. They've simply revived something which they call the perennial religion. Perennial because it could be brought up again, and it would sprout and flourish because it always appealed to the vanity within the individual self. Because power, personal power, was always at its base. And for a religion to take off, that would take over from the old established religions, it had to appeal to the ego. The old religions gave you rules. The old religions, unfortunately, made you feel like a worm. In fact, pre-Protestantism, there was no such thing as a personal contact with any deity. You were just one of the masses under the deity. You were a dirty, rotten, filthy little sinner. And so you didn't have a chance in hell, as they say, of getting out of it, except by some miracle. But when Protestantism came along, it simply grabbed the old stuff that the Catholics had already taken, written about, omitted a lot of it. They omitted the Apocrypha and a lot of the books, and brought in the born-again idea, mainly for the Americas, because they wanted the Americas to still go along with this religion that worked great for making cohesion within a society they were going to create to build up a world army. And now that your job's almost done, it's all been taken away, and even the religion is falling apart too, because all those who go through the same culture and watch television, including all the congregations that go home and watch it too, are all getting the same brainwashing. So they lose their values. They're being indoctrinated by media, and they copy the culture around them, and not the values that they pretend to follow from the religion on a Sunday. So religions are well understood for their value for controlling people, and you can take your pick if you want to control a particular type or create a type of society. You can go through all the old religions and say which one or assortment of them can we bring together to bring out this perfect society that we want to create, this perfectly controlled society. and for an age as we're going into, which couples into eventually going into a cyber world of unreality, where once again someone else will create the program that you'll be going into. It's so wonderful when you look back and see how the psychedelic era and all of the New Age movement fits right in along with the next step, where electronically they'll promise you all these wonderful miracles, and people will go in. They're already selling chi machines, electronic chi machines for energy. You know, the Chinese chi. I didn't say tea, I said chi. And they're selling them. So the faith is already coupled with technology. It's amazing. I say beautiful. When I say beautiful, I mean in a sardonic sort of way. It's very, very clever. Very clever. How it all eventually fits to go into what they always wanted was a fake world that would control your minds completely. If you said this to a pre-1940s society, we'd like you to get brain chipped one day and observed and followed all done through your life, there have been revolutions all over the place. Believe you me, very quickly. But today, with societies that are being created to be more unhappy as all the old bonding is destroyed, everyone's got hundreds of acquaintances but no real lovers, you might say. And everyone craves that personal contact, which they can't handle, most of them, anymore. It's been destroyed. And they've been taught that we're all one. We're all one. That's the mantra of the New Age. We're all one. And sure enough, they'll all be one when they're all hooked up together in the world's supercomputers, which will all be connected. That's when they'll all get their wish. The only thing is, they won't be conscious enough to understand it, because there'll be no more you when that happens. And I've gone over this before, how at Loyola University, the World Science Meetings, to do with this particular brain-chipping technology, one of the statements that stands out was, when this is introduced and works, and they accept it, which they know they will, they'll want to, there'll be no more individualism, the end of individuality. And then the elite, who will not be chipped, will breathe a sigh of relief, because they won't have to worry anymore about revolutions and complaints departments, or having to use so much energy to keep the multitudes entertained and happy, keep them peaceful. They won't have those worries anymore. They'll have an efficient programmed society where, since you're only using about 10% of your brain, they can use all the rest of it to accomplish a myriad of tasks, and use your body too like a robot. Because the most efficient robot is the human body. It's the most efficient. The cells regenerate themselves. You're self-repairing. We need less maintenance than the mechanical type. We're cheaper. We're a renewable resource. To the economist at the top, that's very logical to use this and do what's happening in this fashion. And it's happening, and we're living through it.